Alright, so real quick before this episode begins, I just want to tell you guys that I am not personally in this episode. So basically what happened is I had to help a friend move to their house, or I should say apartment, and basically I couldn't make it in time to the podcast, so basically this is going to be like the first episode where I'm not in it, and I'm the guy that runs this thing, and I'm not even in my own podcast. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the Night of the Living Dummy episode, and if you guys want to be part of the podcast, follow me on Instagram at Brandon Syme, or follow me on Facebook at Brandon Syme. Basically, or just comment down below, hey, I want to be part of the podcast, we can work out something. Anyways, please enjoy the video and subscribe.
Brandon, do you want to introduce us to what we're doing today? Hold on. Yeah, I'm going to tell you about the cringy time I became a dummy, and we reviewed Night of the Living Dummy. Wow, Brandon.
Dog turns out of Brandon Syme, and he is unavailable.
Yes, so in his place, Slappy has conjured Brandon's essence in this big brain time here. And Slappy will be playing the part of Brandon. So, welcome to that one Goosebumps podcast. We've already reviewed this episode, but Brandon claims... See, wave to the people, Brandon. Brandon claims...
Monster truck drew his house in a sad twist of irony.
And it was the greatest moment of his life. So Brandon accidentally deleted the first episode of the time we did the Night of the Living Dummy, but it's okay because we weren't a group at that point, and the whole podcast was just me and Josh and Brandon on Discord going, yeah, I kind of like this book, huh? So anyway, Irby, do you want to tell us a bit about Night of the Living Dummy?
Well, as we know, Night of the Living Dummy, Slappy is pretty iconic in the context of Goosebumps, obviously being the protagonist of both Goosebumps movies, having multiple Night of the Living Dummy books. There's 3 different in this series. This is the first book. Let me clear one thing up. There is a misconception that Slappy is the main big bad of this one. Like, it's not that he doesn't have a presence, it's just Mr. Wood is the big bad of this one.
Mr. Wood's
Why
a
that
bitch.
decision was made, I don't really know. Maybe it was like a change of pace type of thing. They just figured like 1 to 2 with how the twist goes, it would be like a continuation. But anyways, how this book starts is this deals with like a competitive like twin sibling rivalry. Lindy and Chris are, they're super competitive. They are at each other's heads all the time. One point, Lindy is given a dummy, which the dummy she's given was Slappy, and she's really funny.
Actually, she finds Slappy, and she doesn't she finds Slappy.
Okay, yes, she finds Slappy. Thank you.
And a construction site!
And essentially, like, she's really good at these, she does all these performances. The dummy gets people to laugh. Chris gets jealous, and she has bought her own dummy. The problem is there's a lot of different hijinks and antics that happen, and it seems like every time they happen, the dummy is in the place. And in the usual trope of Night of the Living Dummy, the parents think the kids are absolutely off their rocker, something gets destroyed. You'll notice there's a lot of like drinking game identifiable tropes within this book that just become like staples of the Night of the Living Dummy segment of Goosebumps. You can make a drinking game out of it.
Like drinking with Goosebumps. Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I love that series.
Samesies.
too.
I think it's funny.
So let me rip them off real quick and point out something I noticed upon watching their episodes. On the back of the book, there is a misprint, and they're the ones who pointed that out. If you read the whole little synopsis here, it talks about how Chris is going to show Lindy, but then it says Chris will show Chris. So yeah. Good job, Scholastic. You're fucking up readers all around America.
They already did that by publishing I Live in Your Basement. But anyways.
Oh, Inception 1.52?
1.563842. You know, the score's Ned from Drinking from Goosebumps likes to give,
Yeah, fucking Ned. Alright, so, yeah, this book, I mean, this book was itself a mindfuck because the whole time they trick you with the cover. He walks, he stalks, but really, Slappy doesn't do shit until towards the end of the book after Mr. Woods is dead and gone.
Yeah, half the book is just this fake out until we get a hard reset right in the middle, essentially.
I think that's the best. No, it was a twist ending, I would say, but like it was a pretty good twist ending, and that was pretty much setting up the sequel as to what was going to go on. Like,
yeah, I mean, so there's some controversy though. People argue online a lot. Did the energy from Mr. Wood go into Slappy? Or were they both just alive?
It actually did. After Mr. Wood was killed, the spirit inside Mr. Wood went inside Slappy, making him 10 times more evil.
This is like one of the Goosebumps concepts where I think part of the point is it never truly ends.
But Josh, can you explain where do you get the amplifier for 10 times? Like, that's a lot of evil.
That's what R.L. Stein said himself in on his own Wikipedia page when he said it when he first died on Dummy. When Mr. Wood dies, the spirit inside Mr. Wood went into Slappy and made Slappy 10 times more evil than he already was.
You fucking dick. Alright, Austin, do you have any thoughts on the book?
I do have one, and I don't know if this was, I don't know, maybe I missed something, maybe I overread something, but when they find Slappy and then she gets Mr. Wood, the dummies were moving around already without the spell, right?
Yeah.
So when she first reads the spell that was in Mr. Wood's pocket, it brings him, and like he starts to blink. But if they were already moving, what's the point of that whole scene when he reads the spell? When she reads the spell?
Carew,
because they would already.
No, the typo. Maybe the movie could have been a typo.
So I don't know. Maybe that's a mini plot hole in the book. I don't know.
It's very plausible considering how many Night of the Living Dummy books there are. Because think about this, and we don't ever talk about sequels. I know we don't; it's a rule. But in 3,
we did last week, bro.
I know, but in 3, well, I mean, like we don't usually jump ahead. But in Night of the Living Dummy 3, all the dummies get up and pretty much beat the fuck out of Slappy right then and there. Like there was no spell to bring them all to life. They're just like, man, fuck you. And
that was during 2. No, that was during. Wait, did you say it was 2? Because wasn't that 3? Or
no, it was 3. In 3, they all got up and they pretty much gangbanged him.
So this is what I'm saying. Is the spell that Slappy holds in his pocket now in further books, isn't that like a Mr. Wood, like double OP enchanted spell then? Because when they say it gives him Mr. Wood's powers, right? That's what I've always thought.
In theory, yes.
Well, I mean, the spell is essentially Latin for you and I are now one, so it's more like a binding contract. And
I always have a question though. If you were to kill the person who said the spell, would that mean you kill Slappy too at the same time? Like you stop him?
I don't know that one. I've always thought that it needed to, like, if only a certain until, like, you know, like the maker who made Slappy out of, like, what is it,
the cursed coffin. That's a good Chef Goosebumps.
You had to have had like some type of enchanted wood to have the abilities that Slappy does, because Slappy gets like double OP when the spell is read, so like it activates his powers or something like that. It's something on the lines of that, but I don't know like the depth to it.
Essentially, because I'm not even caught up on the Slappy World books. The problem is there's so many iterations of Slappy, there's so many origins, and there's so many different variations of his powers. From movie to show to the books, it's just he's a very vast entity.
So what I'm saying is the very first book, when it sets up the iconic spell, you know, when Mr. Wood has the thing, it almost defeats the purpose, because they supposedly were alive before the spell. So like, is Mr. Wood just the strongest dummy ever, or
maybe?
Or what? Because I don't know. Maybe that's a theory.
There's a lot to interpret off of it.
Yeah, there's a lot to interpret.
So, I'm going to talk about something I kind of liked. I thought it was funny. Like, R.L. Stein, pretty much, he don't like dogs, I don't think. Because a lot of the times, dogs get abused in his story. Like, I don't like dogs. I don't write about dogs getting choked the fuck out.
Like dogs, bro.
He has a dog too, which is sad.
That's a gag I cover in my videos.
And then I choked that Mr. fucking dog out.
You know what? I'm going to say this. For the showrunners, when they were originally looking at the script, I don't doubt in my mind why they denied this one, because of how graphic and how violent Mr. Wood is in his book.
Yeah.
Yes. This feels more like a Goosebumps 2000s book, despite being
easily. This could have been a Series 2000 book, easily.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, though. I mean, I don't think the violence is the reason they didn't make the book, because they could have danced around it. I think hiring a pair of twins to act, 2 dummies. I mean, look at the slab we got for TV. I shit you not, that's got to be Mr. Wood's original design.
I think it's.
And they just said, you know what, fuck it, let's go to Night of the Living Dummy 2.
Come to this one. They'll come to the first one, the reboot. I have a feeling.
Oh, definitely, because he has a new look, and it'll look just like the movie Slappy, because they're trying to keep it all canon.
You know what would be cool, though? In the remake, if they make it, use the old dummy. Like, something that looks like the old Slappy from the Fox Kids show, to kind of, like, hint to the audience that was supposed to be Mr. Wood.
Oh, I guess. Great idea. They used the movie Slappy.
They used the movie Slappy of the Fox Kids show.
The original TV's dummy for like, they get them to remake the original TV
yeah,
dummy.
but he was supposed to be Mr. Wood anyway. Look, he wasn't supposed to have orange hair. I honestly think they built that one, and then they're like, fuck, budget's not going to allow us to do all this stuff, so let's just go with this. This is creepy enough.
Yeah.
That's something to me that, you know, I always heard the urban legends like they aired the show once, but it was too violent and they pulled it. And then when years later, when you finally got the answer, that they just like looked over it and said, yeah, that's not going to work. Something about that kind of bugs me. And like, it bothers me that they couldn't, like, you know how many episodes they edited and basically made their own thing?
Yeah.
They could have easily tweaked it to make it work and make it more friendly to kids. But they didn't even try.
I mean, if you look at all the episodes where you pretty much had to stretch some details to make the budget work, like doing all the advanced grunt work, the werewolf episode, Shock Street.
Deep Trouble.
But they'll come back to this one, I really think, with a higher budget. Because, to be fair, I think 2 is considered an iconic book. But is it objectively better than the first one? I don't know. I think that's a tight call.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's just disappointing if you look, and we're going to get away from the show here because we're kind of off topic, but you look at, they did Night of the Living Dummy 2, the episode, but then when they did Deep Trouble, it was just called Deep Trouble, not Deep Trouble 2, even though it was Deep Trouble 2. So it's like, figure your shit out, writers. Come on.
Yeah.
Alright, so more or less, you know, the book follows Mr. Wood the whole time being a dick, and then he becomes Slappy, essentially, when he gets crushed by the steamroller. So, anybody have any dislikes, starting with Irby? One thing you didn't like about this book?
One thing I didn't like about the book. I mean, let's see. So, I'm not going to complain. Like, when I said the Goosebumps 2000 thing, the grotesque and edgy stuff is what I did like. If I had to point out a big dislike, I think the problem is, at some point, the plot didn't feel very smooth at moments. Like, there was parts in the middle of the book where, and this is something Arlstein struggled with at the beginning of the series and kind of improved later on. It wasn't like a straight line. It felt like the plot at moments just kind of sat in one place. But to be fair, it got hot at the end. The climax was really good. But yeah, it had some issues kind of sitting in one place at the beginning portion, maybe like 30 to 50% of the way through.
I feel that. Austin, what's one thing you didn't like, Mr. Completionist?
Well, I will say, I have only read the first one now twice. I've read the second one maybe once, the third one a couple times, Bride a couple times, and Slappy's Nightmare I've read once. Or maybe a couple times now, actually. But once recently. What I don't like about this book is the fact, you know how big of an importance, like I said, I brought this up a couple of times now, the card. The reading of the card that activates Slappy. What I don't like about this book is how it creates a plot hole to the spell itself, because the dummies were already alive, and that just confuses readers. If you read this book and then you start with the others, normally people would be like, well, if they're alive before the spell, what service does the spell have? I would like to see a book. Maybe there is a book that I haven't read yet that touches on this. I don't know. Please correct me. But
so you want to expand
on the lore of the spell, like maybe on like who created it or something, to kind of like fill up the plot hole that started in this book.
The spell was created by the Wizard, the same guy who created the dummies.
Okay, so Josh, what's one thing that you didn't like about this book?
Not gonna lie, I like Irby said, it was not a linear story. It's kind of always stands still at one point. The only other thing I couldn't say I didn't like is I didn't like the over-the-topness of Mr. Wood. Yeah, granted, it was more of a 2000 book than it was a 62 book, and I appreciate that kind of format, but I think for the first of the series, he shouldn't have gone that hard on himself.
I mean, he was still testing the waters, though. This was
true, but
this was like in the tens of like this was one of the first 10 books. He was trying to get his footing to see what works, what formula was working, and surprisingly, the book still holds up for it being as edgy as it is. It set the groundwork for Series 2000, and I think that when he was making that series, he probably went back to this book and said, "I want to make something edgy like I made this."
Two of the books in the Goosebumps 2000s were based off of Night of the Living Dead, so yeah.
Okay, one thing I wasn't a huge fan of was just like the Mr. I don't mind the twist. I don't like the fact that Mr. Wood became Slappy, or essentially that's what the ideology of it is, that Mr. Wood died and his essence traveled in Slappy. Why couldn't they just both be alive? Mr. Wood's just dead. I think that would have been more preferential to me.
Well, the same as they probably were alive, it just Slappy wasn't as evil as Mr. Wood.
Wait, hold on now. Fell didn't activate both of them, and Slappy was just waiting for Mr. Wood to be put out of the way.
That could also be the case.
Literally, he says in the thing, "Yo, guys, is the other guy gone? I thought he'd never leave."
Okay.
Yeah.
So
that means he must have been aware that Mr. Wood was there and alive.
Okay, fair point. So let's travel on to the rating system. So starting with Irby, what is your rating for this book? Once I find a pen I have actually used already. Alright, yeah. What would you rate the book? 1 through 10, go.
Who's starting, me?
Yes.
So I think the one thing is I'm not going to just hitch a ride over every most popular mainstream Goosebumps book ever, but I'm going to give this one 9. Hot take, this is the best of the 3. 9.
Okay, fair enough. Austin, Goosebumps completionist. What are you gonna rate this book?
Yeah, growing up, this book wasn't the book that got me into Slappy. It was actually Slappy's Nightmare and Bride. But I will say, rereading this book and appreciating the depth of horror, I really enjoyed this. It is a classic, but I'm not gonna bend what I actually thought just because it is popular. I'll give it an 8. I'll give it an 8.5.
Oh.
Okay. There are better Slappy books that I've read. I think Slappy's Nightmare is slightly better than this, even though, we'll probably get into that at some point later down the road.
Yeah.
But
Definitely.
I think there are better dummy books than this, but this is a good one. But I'm not going to say it's the best, but I think it's good.
Mr. Wasaki?
I'm going to give it 9 out of 10 Slappies.
Yay.
I liked it a lot. Yes, I was my boy.
Y'all are gonna hate me here. I'm giving this book a 5. I mean, again, it was not my favorite dummy book, and I can get a good lull out of a dog getting choked because I'm not a dog person, but I'm not for animal abuse. You feel me? So,
yeah.
And again, the kids are getting their ass beaten by the doll. Mr. Woods over going, I will run these fucking hands on you, you fucking ignorant bitch. And the parents are like, go to bed. And he's just like, I will fucking destroy you and sell you to Satan. And they're like, stop playing, go to bed. Dude, your child's being molested by a doll and you're watching and I'm going back to sleep. What the fuck?
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying. I actually, when I read Mr. Wood, I get total vibes from Chucky.
Mr. Wood is Chucky. I legit Chucky.
I think we went over this before. Chucky, Slappy, it's a close analogy. I'm telling you. Child's Play inspired this fucking book. Changed my mind. Change his mind.
No, I'm not changing your
mind.
Alright,
and I'm gonna say, I remember from the first episode, Brandon's like, I gave this book a 7 because monster trucks. So we're gonna give Brandon a 7 rating.
The only reason I book a higher grade on the other ones is because this is the only one where I actually felt disturbed. The other ones rely a little too heavily on slap.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I feel like this book is the only cop out to Slappy, because most Slappy fans, you can be a Slappy fan and like this book, but this book isn't really about Slappy, it's about Mr. Wood. So if you want to,
it's about his brother, basically.
It's about his brother. But then, Slappy's Nightmare, it's about Wally too in some ways, because let's go into the lore of that. What if Wally was just killed, and would Slappy absorb Wally's powers?
Isn't Wally Mr. Wood though?
I don't think so.
Yeah, Wally's is.
What about that new book, Slappy's Evil Twin Brother, for Slappy's World?
I haven't read that, so I have no idea.
That's Snappy.
Yeah, we'll definitely be coming back around.
Yeah, we'll come back to this at some point. But that's what I'm saying. Though. Maybe there's more books that reveal more of the lore behind the dummies. Maybe
I hope this one gets an episode.
Okay, so after rounding up here, wow, this 7.253781. So we're gonna round that up just to 7.25. 7 1/4. Woo!
I Goosebumps approved. This is like I said in my video for the compilation. They bet they'll come back.
All right.
I mean,
so whose rotation was up now? Who picked this book? You did, Josh. Which means, Austin, you're back up in rotation. What are we reading?
All right, so I've been thinking about this. And yeah, you guys are basically already know I'm gonna do Werewolf Skin.
All right, Werewolf Foreskin.
All right, let's get it.
Let's get it. Let's do it.
Okay, one of the hardest to find Goosebumps books. Luckily, we all have it, right? Right.
Yeah.
Right. All right then. So, with that being said, channel announcements starting with Josh Irby.
So, if I've been off my graphics card, this laptop up for me, so I can do more editing. I'm working on moving out right now. Come spring, be patient.
Understandable. Goosebumps completionist.
I'm just, riding the wave, reading books. I just recently announced that I'm going to be doing, still doing Goosebumps content, but I'm also going to be reviewing Spine Tinglers and Dead Time stories.
How dare you!
So, if you, because there's really no Spine Tinglers content on YouTube, nobody really reviews them. So, if you guys have ever been interested in this and you want to hear a little bit about it, I'll be doing reviews of that. Dead Time stories. I know there's a TV show. I might do reviews of the TV show as well. I've also thought about maybe dabbling into Are You Afraid of the Dark and kind of doing comparisons and stuff. I'm just keeping it kids horror. Like, I'm mainly Goosebumps. I'm going to be 85-90% Goosebumps, but I'm going to try to open up to other things on the channel.
Alright.
Yeah.
Dad, what about your channel? Tell us about your hentai addiction.
Son, dress up. I'm just gonna be doing some manga, getting that manga, doing anime reviews. I'm bringing back story time. You heard it here first, guys. Story time's coming back.
Oh my God! You're gonna talk about how it was made? How Usana-chan got you all warm and bubbly?
Oh, okay, God, I have way too many fucking projects. Alright, so here's my channel announcement. I've got like 20 videos pending in editing because I'm a glutton for work, and I'm editing this one, and the Horror Burrito, and Only True Dogman Tales, and fuck my life, I have too many projects. The end. This has been that one Goosebumps.
I'm going over here, Bumps is a fucking genius. Give him subscribers.
Yeah, they won't. Only true geniuses subscribe to me. It's only have 389 because most of the world doesn't use even 10% of their brain. Anyway, thanks for watching the show. It's on Brandon's channel, but our links should be down below. I no longer have access to his channel, so he has to add that. And if he doesn't, fuck him.
Or else, fuck you, Brandon. We don't have that.
Alright, see you next time for Werewolf Foreskin.
Hi. It's me, the guy that didn't make it into the podcast. So, here's my review on Night of the Living Dummy. I thought the book was very, very interesting. I remember as a kid, I hated the cover. I used to have to sit and cover of the book with a sticky note so I couldn't see Slappy's face. I just did not like that cover at all. Now it's one of my favorite covers. But basically, I thought the book was really well written. It's definitely Slappy Mr. Wood. It's definitely the most sinister, I guess, Night of the Living Dummy book. It's very, very dark. Nightmare on Elm Street 1 is very demonic. Nightmare on Elm Street 2 is kind of more comedic-ish. It's still serious, but it's got a little bit of comedy into it. and the third one's the same way. That's kind of how I feel about like the Night of the Living Dummy trilogy. But yeah, if I had to give this book a review, I'd definitely give it a 8.5 out of 10. So, yeah, cool. Yeah. So real quick, also for channel announcements, because I know I gotta edit that part into it. My channel, I have a Marvel Zombie Collection video soon that I'm thinking about doing. I got a package I'm supposed to be getting from the Real R.L. Stine collector. We talked about trading some books. And basically, I'm just going to keep being myself and posting whatever I want when I want. And thank you guys for the support lately. Thanks. I've been noticing I've been getting a couple subs here and there. So that's really cool. Thank you. So, yeah. Anyways, this is probably going to be at the end of the video. So, anyways, thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in the next review, which I believe is Werewolf Skin. I have to watch. I gotta edit the podcast. Don't mind me. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next episode. I promise I will be in the next episode. And thank you for all the support on that one, Goosebumps podcast. We got a lot of interesting ideas that I got planned for the podcast this year. Hopefully I'm going to expand the podcast from just being book reviews into multiple different things for the channel. So it should be really cool. So stay tuned. And if you like what you see for content-wise, subscribe. It's free and it helps out the channel. So thank you. See you guys later.